welcome to be here today to support this cause. I'm very proud that we have been able to be partner with Coca-Cola European Partners of this fantastic event for the last 4 years. And I feel very privileged. I'm very pleased that I can share the jury of the Wo.Men Work Award. It's a fantastic event and it's a fantastic award because it's a moment where we can give some recognition to great leaders that have taken their responsibility and they have really made sure that gender diversity is at the heart of their business. It's something very strong, and I can tell you that one more time, this year, we have had very strong candidates, and we have finally very strong, passionate, and inspiring nominees for this award. I can imagine, at least I hope, that if you are here tonight, it's because you are believers, you are supporters of the diversity. So am I as well. I'm a profound believer that we need to make big step to make sure the gender equality is something that we need to push and push and push harder and harder. But today I can tell you that I have mixed feelings while introducing this celebration. Mixed feelings because, to me, this kind of award should be the cherry on the cake for the gender equality cause. It should be like the last mile of a long journey. But in today's world, I feel that it's a little bit the other way around, that we probably have to use this kind of ceremony, this kind of award, to restate or to reclaim the fundamental rights of the woman. In today's world, I can tell you that I feel we need a stronger leadership to promote diversity. I feel a need of a stronger diversity leadership when I'm looking around the world. I feel a need for a stronger diversity leadership when I hear some world leaders speaking to women on a very unfriendly manner. I feel a need for a stronger diversity leadership when I'm walking in the street and I hear people thinking about behaving against women on a very bad manner. I feel that we need to step up. I feel that I need to step up. As a man, as a brother, as a father. It's time to reposition the place of the woman not only in the work environment. In our company, I feel also the need to make bigger, bolder steps. At Coca-Cola European Partners, we have set for ourselves aggressive targets in terms of gender balance and gender equality. We want to have by 2025 40% of all managers and all leaders position for women. It's ambitious, but at the same time, let's be honest, it's really realistic. It's just a question of having the right mindset to make sure that people are fully embedding this kind of objective in everything they do, day in, day out. We are quite good in our company in recruiting women, I can tell you. But let's be honest, we are also struggling sometimes to retain the women in our organization and to push the women in the middle management layers of our organization, those layers where you find the women leaders of the future. And today, let's be honest, by listening to the nominees. It's also for us, for you, for me, a fantastic opportunity to be inspired by new ideas, by creative processes, by a fantastic willingness to promote the gender equality in the companies. We have very strong nominees today, and you will hear a little bit more about themselves in a few minutes. In the meantime, I will keep the suspense as it is. I would like to thank you very much for being here. It's fantastic to have such a large audience for this cause. And now I leave it to you, Isabella. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it deserves an applause. So I think really Jump is really lucky to have Coca-Cola as a corporate partner for the award. Without you, it wouldn't be possible to organize that. And not only a corporate partner, but Coca-Cola and Jump to have really a great luck to have you as a person chairing the jury, chairing the company. Thank you so much for your beautiful speech. So it's we just began. We will hear two fantastic speakers. We will hear also what is exactly that made the fact that the three nominees, Sabine, Gregor, and Alexander, are here today. What did they achieve? What is their commitment? What kind of advices do they have to give to you? Because this is about it. The award is really to build role models at the really top of the companies, like Etienne Gossard is one. We want to have more and more. And so we will have the seventh today. I'm really proud of that. Because, you know, in gender equality, like in every other field, knowing is good, but doing is much better, and they do. Before beginning with the first speech, I would like you to applaud the presence of the Secretary of State for the Brussels region, Cécile Jodogne. Please stand up. So the Brussels region it's really a mixed team. It's really, and it's not that common in the different governments that we have in Belgium. So I think we have to underline that. And we have really great ladies in this government. Cécile is a friend of mine for a long time, and she's supporting what we are doing. So thank you so much, Cécile. Another person that not only is doing so well in matter of gender equality, but has that portfolio. You are in charge of gender equality, Bianca de Batz. You also, before being Secretary of State, you wrote a book on the commitments for Brussels. So you are a fan of Brussels, you are a fan of equality, not only gender equality. So the floor is yours. What are your commitments for gender equality?
So, ladies and gentlemen, dear entrepreneurs, dear speakers, je veux aussi à mon tour saluer la présence de Madame Jodogne, avec qui c'est vraiment un plaisir. Je ne le dis pas par politesse, je suis sincèrement convaincue de travailler ensemble. Et je pense que ça prouve vraiment que la solidarité entre femmes, aussi en politique, c'est possible. Et nous le faisons tous les jours, je crois, à Bruxelles en tout cas. So it's an honor to be here at Wo.Men at Work with this group of fantastic speakers. And so let me give you a short introduction on how we fight in this Brussels region for equal opportunities in the world of labor, of course, but also in the world of family life. Society for a long time was built by men for men. To put it in movie terms, women weren't even supporting actors. At their best, they were extras. From a time where women weren't allowed to speak about politics, till now we have a gender parity Brussels government. And it's the first in our country. So it's important to underline as you did. From time where women weren't allowed to study or take up certain professions, until now, a time where the biggest telecom companies, for instance, Proximus, Dominique Leroy, are led by women of the two big universities and also this Vlerik Management School, who are led by women. And I think that everybody agrees that Marion de Bruyne is doing a fantastic job here at Vlerik. Ceci dit, il y a quand même encore du progrès à faire. Ça, je pense qu'on doit l'admettre. On a accompli pas mal de choses, mais il y a quand même encore quelques kilomètres, je dirais même un marathon, je crois, à parcourir. Et je pense entre autres à l'écart salarial, aussi la sous-représentation de femmes dans certains domaines aussi. Et donc, je parle ici de ma perspective bruxelloise, vous donner quelques exemples, mais je pense que c'est valable aussi pour le reste du pays, et puis même, je crois, pour d'autres pays voisins. Je pense que premièrement, il faut mesurer pour savoir. Meten is weten. We moeten over voldoende cijfers beschikken. Et alors ici, à la région, et je pense qu'on était quand même pionniers, la pierre angulaire de notre politique, c'est vraiment le gender mainstreaming. Et alors, c'est quoi exactement? C'est très simple. Ça veut dire que toutes les décisions qui sont prises par le gouvernement doivent passer un test, un gender test. Et là, donc, on mesure si l'écart entre hommes-femmes, si cet écart devient plus grand, si ce fossé devient plus grand ou pas. Et si c'est le cas, bien sûr, on prend des mesures pour corriger cela. Alors, comme je vous disais, un autre élément, c'est bien sûr de collecter aussi assez de données pour savoir dans quel domaine on peut encore progresser. Et donc là aussi, on aura bientôt des statistiques de genre. Donc, vous vraiment savoir dans tous les domaines, que ce soit sur l'emploi, le logement, etc. Et donc, je crois que c'est vraiment un instrument très puissant. Alors, certains me disent, oui, c'est bien beau de faire des textes, des lois, des ordonnances, mais est-ce qu'en pratique, vous travaillez aussi? Oui, puisque chaque cabinet, Madame Jodon le sait, mais aussi chaque administration a maintenant un coordinateur de genre qui doit vraiment veiller à ce que, oui ou non, on réalise ce qu'on avait prévu, ce qu'on avait promis. Een tweede element is die ondervertegenwoordiging. En een aantal mensen zeggen dan, ja, dat is toch eigenlijk de individuele keuze. Moet een overheid gaan opleggen wat onze jongeren moeten gaan studeren? Moet een overheid beslissen dat een vrouw directeur moet worden of leidinggevende functies? Maar nee, we moeten dat niet doen. Maar mensen moeten de keuze hebben. So, as a policy maker, we can't and we shouldn't tell girls what they should study. But the choice is important. And so, we really want to influence the perception of that certain jobs are only for men or only for women. And that's why we are working together with the Brussels employees, BASI. Sommigen onder jullie kennen dat wel. And we launched the campaign, My Job is My Choice. So, yes, men can be nurses or can become hairdressers, just as women can work in the ICT sector. Et on sait qu'elles sont sous-représentées. So, it's a field where year after year, thousands of jobs are created in the ICT sector. The quality is good. It's a very interesting job. And nevertheless, we see, well, too many women who are choosing for this profession. And we really want to change that, of course. And why? Well, globally, women consumers, and I think we all know that, control $20 trillion worldwide, of course, in consumer spending. They make the final decision for buying 91% of home purchases. Et donc, c'est les femmes qui gèrent quelque part le budget. 65% of the new cars. Ce n'est pas les hommes qui choisissent les voitures. Vous croyez tous que vous choisissez votre voiture, mais ce n'est pas vrai. En fait, c'est les femmes qui décident majoritairement. Ce sont que quelques exemples. Extremely important in the campaign we launched with schools, because we really had to change the mentality of our youngsters. I noticed that children don't think in boxes and stereotypes. We do, but children, they don't. And they learn the cliches in their family life and in the broader society. And so the sooner we open those boxes and avoid those stereotypes, the more progress we will achieve. Alors dernièrement, je pense que c'est très important aussi de motiver les femmes à prendre aussi des places dans les directions. Et là aussi, il y a encore du progrès à faire puisque only 23% of top managers are women in Belgium, but I guess it's approximately the same in the other EU countries. One part of the solution, of course, relates to women themselves. We have to teach young girls to dare. Être ambitieux et d'être aussi, je dirais, self-confident. All too often, women get hampered in their career by their own modesty. I think you recognize that. Dernièrement, et je le fais souvent, j'essaie de stimuler les femmes aussi pour s'engager dans la politique. Et chaque fois que je demande d'une dame à se mettre sur la liste, je pense que Cécile reconnaît ça aussi, mais la réponse très souvent c'est « Non, mais je ne pense pas que je vais pouvoir faire ça, moi je n'ai pas les talents pour ça ». Quand je demande ça à un homme, il n'hésite jamais. It's a coincidence, I don't think so. So men go for a promotion if they see that half of the asked for criteria, they have the skills. Women usually go for a promotion if they have 90% of the criteria. Donc ça montre encore que les femmes sont beaucoup plus et trop sévères, je pense, pour elles-mêmes beaucoup plus que les femmes. So I think women really should ask themselves, am I thinking big enough? En dus moeten we natuurlijk vrouwen stimuleren, maar ook als overheid een aantal omkaderende maatregelen nemen. En ik ga die niet allemaal uitleggen, maar het zijn een aantal simpele dingen misschien. Ervoor zorgen dat er bijvoorbeeld voldoende kinderopvang is. Want we weten, als er geen kinderopvang gevonden wordt, en dat is, laat ons toegeven, soms een knelpunt in grootsteden, dat capaciteitsgebrek, wie kiest er dan vaak voor om thuis te blijven of om halftijds te gaan werken, met vaak gevolgen die jaren later zich nog laten voelen? U heeft het al begrepen, het zijn inderdaad heel vaak de vrouwen die het doen. Et alors, pour conclure, et ça m'avait touché quand vous avez dit aussi que les hommes ont aussi une place, et je suis persuadée de ça aussi, que dans ce combat d'égalité des chances, je suis vraiment persuadée aussi qu'on a besoin aussi d'hommes. Puisque si on n'avait pas eu le soutien d'hommes dans le passé, on n'aurait jamais eu le droit de vote. On n'aurait pas eu l'intérêt sur les listes et plein d'autres réalisations que nous avons quand même pu mener à bien. Heureusement, on voit que ça change. We kijken naar een onderzoek van de VEB, is het nog 2 maanden geleden, denk ik, verschenen. Als we kijken naar de categorie van mannen tussen 35 en 49 jaar, dan zien we dat ze sinds 1999 en nu, dat is niet zo lang geleden, een half uur per dag al extra meehelpen in het huishouden. Donc déjà, il y a une demi-heure de temps qui consacre de plus dans le ménage, par exemple. On le voit aussi pour le congé parental. Ce n'est pas encore 50%, mais quand même, on voit aussi que de plus en plus, surtout les hommes, les nouvelles générations, n'ont plus de gêne à demander à leur manager, oui, effectivement, j'ai envie aussi et je vais prendre le congé parental. C'est important. Pour vous dire qu'effectivement, il faut travailler sur la mentalité, mais que nous aussi, les autorités publiques, on a encore du travail à faire. Another thing that always strikes me is that obviously there are a lot of men who are afraid of women. Vous pas, hein? C'est les autres. But I sometimes wonder, et c'est un peu un cliché, mais quand même, would a man have sent troops to Iraq to find the so-called weapons of mass destruction? Do women push for sectarian conflicts? I think we all know the answer. But there's a more important message to men all over the world. It's the struggle for more equal opportunities is not a win or lose situation. Men don't lose where women win. Et donc, il ne faut pas avoir peur. Parce que si les femmes progressent, vous n'allez pas perdre. Pas du tout, bien au contraire, on avance ensemble. Et je vais terminer par ça, peut-être encore une dernière réflexion. I think it's not a coincidence that in the most prosperous countries of this world, for instance the Scandinavian countries, we often refer to, women take up high leadership positions. But also the society is more gender equal. Norway, Sweden, Finland. And that's an incredible important message. In these times where sexism has shown its ugly face again in the public sphere. Et ça, malheureusement, c'est aussi une thématique à Bruxelles. Vous avez fait référence aussi qu'effectivement, dans certains quartiers, sans généraliser, l'espace public est parfois un peu dominé. Et c'est très souvent les femmes, là aussi, qui adaptent leur comportement, éviter certains quartiers, à s'habiller autrement. Et donc là aussi, on travaille ensemble avec Mme Jodogne et tous les autres collègues du gouvernement à dire non. L'espace public aussi, hein, pas uniquement dans les entreprises, mais l'espace public aussi doit toujours être mixte et toujours être bien partagé. Dank u wel.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. My mic. Thank you so much, Mrs. Bianca de Batz. So, has everybody a seat? I'm not sure. Huh? I'm sorry, but I'm stressed about that. Can you show the free seated, please? There. Can you maybe go? But don't worry, even if you disturb somehow, it's not a big problem. I'm sure people are very friendly. Everybody's very friendly tonight. So go. Raise your hands. There are two there, but I prefer if you can take the seats up there so that it can facilitate the people that will come even later to have a seat in the front row. Ariane, thank you so much. Okay, so let's continue the ceremony. I'm very honored to have one of the men that is the most inspiring to me because he writes a lot. He writes on a blog called Mark like the first name, M like men, A like advocating, R like real, and C like change. So men advocating real change. He writes a lot in this blog. And it's been a while now that he's working on that specific thematic, much before it was fashionable. Because it's already since the mid-90s that he gives a lot of trainings, especially to men, in order to make them full diversity partners. And this is precisely the name of his organization, White Men as Full Diversity Partners. He comes directly from the US. And he knows how much I am afraid of what's happening today, not only in the US, where so many machists are at power or come to power, unfortunately. So, Bill Proudman, can I ask you to tell us how we can resist?
Good evening. So thank you, Isabella, for that. And Bianca, those words were very inspiring. And Etienne, your words were also. And I want to speak to you again as the other man up front here in a second. Because what you did to open this, you spoke from here. And for me, that counters what we're seeing in a globe these days on a world, particularly with many world leaders, and starting with my country, of men who are not operating from here. I don't know where they're operating from, but they're not in their hearts. They're a danger. And I want to talk a little bit tonight about the connection between the political on the global sphere with us as people, not only in business, but in our lives as men and women. And Gary, help me with this. There we go. And I want to start with a passage. I'm not a very religious person, but I look at times to the great religions of the world for inspiration. And there's a particular piece out of one of the Jewish books, the Talmud, that I'd like to start with. And it goes like this. Do not be daunted by the enormity of the world's grief. Do justly now Walk humbly now. Love mercy now. You're not obligated to complete the work, nor are you free to abandon it. And those words from the Talmud about the paradox of the world that we live in, that is full of not only lots of grief, but a lot of despair and hopelessness. And actually the work that I have the privilege of doing with global corporate leaders around the world, like Etienne and others of you here, gives me hope around being able to continue to not just abandon this, but we're never going to complete it, which doesn't mean that we don't go and continue to do the work. So I need some help. These two, actually, let's come back. These two, why is it that I do the work? And the two here are two of my 6 grandchildren. And they are about 6 months apart. And as all children around the globe, they are full of opportunity, hope. Everything is open to them. They love everybody and everything. And Quinn, my grandson on the right, whose mother is from Burkina Faso, married to my son, who is, from Portland, Oregon. And one of my other sons is married to a Chinese American woman. So 4 of my 6 grandchildren are mixed race children, as much the rest of the world. We are shrinking the globe. And yet we're watching leaders of the world actually continue to put up walls, to spread fear and hate, to use that division to basically control people. And yet we have children being born all over this planet who believe in the possibility. And I always look back to them for wisdom about what our work is to do here in the spirit of the companies that were here in the room, but also for our role in creating a planet that is cohabitable by every person, not just some of us. So I want to start with this. What do you know about this number? Anybody know what that number represents? Anybody? It's the current number of nation states that are members of the United Nations. So let me show you another number. What's that number? Anybody? That's the number of women world leaders of 15 countries right now. Doing a little further math, that's a grand total of 7.7% of the world's leaders are female. Back to the earlier comments that Bianca, you made, and also Etienne, one of the reasons if we had more equity for the top leadership, not only of our countries, but of our companies, I would have to believe that we'd be making different choices. Men would be making those choices as well. And then there's these 3 gentlemen. And there's others. There's the president of the Philippines, who I was just reading about again today, who I don't know if they went all to the same school, but they defy logic. And there's a tendency for me as a privileged American white man to basically just denigrate or just sort of talk badly about these world leaders and to largely be immune from the impact that they are causing, not just in my country or their countries, but also around the globe. Over the inauguration of 45, my wife and I and my brother were in southern China in Hunan province, and we were talking to young Chinese in their 20s and 30s on the day that he came into office. And to a person, these young people were terrified that their country and my country would be soon at war. We can't do that. We've got to persist. And so that then goes to really what's it mean to be a real man in 2017? And again, Etienne, coming back to you, how you opened, for me, you give a feel about how we show up as men when we have other men, however they got into these roles, stealing the job or somehow getting elected. I don't know. We need help with our election system, so we'd love anyone from the EU to come over and help us further. But how these men get into position, the only way that happens is other men standing up and saying no. We resist. We will not allow this to happen. And I appreciate sort of, as I travel the globe, watching how we as a species, as one people, are attempting to sort of hear each other. Then this reemergence of what I call uber masculinity. So in global politics, I went to the dictionary, And I found this definition in, of all places, the Urban Dictionary on the web. This is a man who's extremely masculine, afraid to show a softer side. The uber masculine man can be found in a gym or occupation that requires extreme masculinity. So now we have a lot of world leaders where that right now is the flavor of the day. And it is, I can't imagine in my country how the man got elected, but I also know that we have men and women who are fleeing politics because they can, and they're disgusted by that. And for me, it's the time to get more involved with politics. And it's not about demonizing people, it is about showing up, paying attention. So then, you know, in doing the world, this just happened recently. This man who's a member of the EU, who has a tendency, I think, to make comments like this, had another one. Fortunately, he got sanctioned. But these comments that are dismissive and validating of half of the sky can't go unacknowledged. And then we've got, of course, this was mentioned earlier, the Duma, 380 to 3 basically legalized domestic violence against family members. And what I learned this afternoon from another person at the conference today is that's okay as long as there's no broken bones. How can we be doing this to each other? We know better. We've got to step up and speak up. And bringing now this into our corporate life, and this is slightly different numbers than Bianca, you just shared, but this notion, this is about from Hewlett-Packard in the United States. Again, that typical piece where women are not going to apply for the promotion or a job without 90 to 100% of the qualifications. I and other men, 50, 60, sometimes less. And part of that for me is this conditioning that I was given since I was literally knee-high, that if I can dream it, I can do it. And when asked, Bill, can you handle this? I've been taught and rewarded, and still am, to basically just sort of nod my head, maybe grunt, and then say, uh-huh. And I'm saying to myself, I don't have a clue as to what to do. But yet, that notion of don't show behind the curtain, that of any fallacy, any shortcoming, again, is what was given to me, that somehow that was a way of being strong when I realized that is a way of not showing my vulnerability. And it also contributes to this notion that for many men that we've gotten to this place in our life, let alone career, on our own 2 feet. That's certainly true for a lot of American men, that somehow we're the rugged individualist that needs no help from anyone. And that is just fallacy. I am the byproduct of many, many other people and continue to be every day. And again, coming closer to here from the UK, this notion about British managers, when they were surveyed, half the female respondents registered some self-doubt about their job performance, and yes, it was a third or less of men doing the same thing. So we've been conditioned very differently. And then Bianca, as you said in your opening remarks, then we look at children. Back to 2 of my grandkids, Quinn and Kyler, as well as the children in your lives. And so this was a piece of research that Catalyst did, and I was going to touch on very briefly about, for us as men in the room, about what gets in our way of standing up and speaking truth to create more equitable environments and equality related to gender. 3 obstacles that Catalyst found, and these are really germane for me, at least to the work that I've done for 30 years with men around the globe and male leaders. Apathy. So when men don't see their self-interest in gender equality, that stops them. In the short term, if I report to duty and the women in my life say, Bill, this would be really helpful if you did this and this and this, and I say, that's great, can you help me again, come back to this and this? But that only goes so far. When I don't understand what is the cost to my humanity for a world that is literally taking and ripping the humanity apart for all of us, but certainly for women, it's as much a cost to me and other men as it is to the women that this is experiencing. So finding my self-interest is important, as it is for other men. Second one is fear, and this came up for a lot of men. We've been conditioned about fear of making mistakes. I heard it say, you just said about fear of women. I don't have the fear of women, but I certainly have been infected with this notion. I don't wake up in the morning and say, how can I offend and minimize and invalidate the people that I come to work with or the people that I love in my personal life? And yet somehow I do. And so this fear of making mistakes is also bathed in a little bit of how many men have been conditioned to not break rank with other men, to don't speak up, to notice that something's happening in the dynamic of men, of how we've been socialized to get together. And then I find that I lose my voice when the women in my life, starting with my own wife of 25 years, seems to be a lot more courageous in speaking out in that moment. I always ask myself, why is it that all of a sudden I've lost my voice again? And not to beat myself up when I'm noticing that, because part of it is a byproduct of the environment that I've grown up in that has basically said, Bill, you've got to go along to get along, particularly around the company of other men. And I think we've got to start as men to do work with each other, not to hit each other with hatchets or cricket bats or other things, but really to be able to say, Bill, I know you didn't mean this, but I need to have a conversation with you about the impact of your words. And I want to help you get better. And I need help to be better as well. That's different than basically sort of brutalizing one another as a way of showing that this will not stand. Then lastly, the other one is ignorance. And ignorance is really can be confused for a lot of men that are in very capable professional positions. Ignorance can be confused as, you must be doing this on purpose because I don't believe you, that you are just blissfully ignorant, that you don't know that. For me, at 61 years of age, I learn new things every day that I don't even know that I'm doing, and it's really hard for particularly the women in my life, professionally and personally, to really believe me because they see me as capable over here, but yet they see me acting in a way that they've thought through the 14 other conversations we've had about that one of those would have gotten through. And that's ignorance. So that part of that is I got to give myself permission to be ignorant, but I've got to get out of my unconscious to become more conscious. What happens when you get conscious about that you don't know something? Particularly those of you in high-level professional jobs. What's that feel like? You now know that you don't know something. How's that feel? Good? Does it feel good? No. It can feel embarrassing. It's like, my goodness, I should know better than that. And I said, when I work with executives, men and women, particularly men, I said, we've got to give ourselves permission to be able to say, I don't know, and to see that in service to strong leadership rather than, as one gentleman told me, his strategy for dealing with that was, he said, I can't be there. I got to go over here and I have to fake it until I make it, which is one of the reasons, Etienne, again, where I loved you speaking from your heart. So thank you. So I want to just show very briefly what happens with young children on this globe who resist all of this social conditioning. And this is young Daisy Edmonds from last September in a Tesco somewhere in the UK.
Okay, Daisy, here we are in Tesco's. What do you think of the clothes on offer today?
Well, the girls' clothes say, hey, beautiful, I feel fabulous. The boys, desert adventure awaits, think outside the box, hero.
And what do you think about that?
It's unfair because everyone thinks that girls should just be pretty and boys should just be adventurous.
And what do you think about that?
I think that's wrong because why should boys and girls clothes even be separated? Because we're just as good as each other.
That's brilliant. I agree with you completely, Daisy. You love adventure, don't you?
Yeah.
You're my hero. And you like green. Why don't we just get you the boys' top? Good idea.
So, think outside the box. What does this mean? It means go on your adventures, let nothing stop you, go for your own dreams. And, hey, what is that even supposed to mean?
I don't know. It would inspire you to say, hey.
Yeah. Like,
Don't you find that inspiring?
I don't find that inspiring. What part of hey is great? I don't get it. Look, boys get think outside the box, which means be adventurous, go for your dreams, and hey, still, what does that mean? What does it inspire you to do?
The wisdom of children. I learn something every day when I'm around young people. So briefly, to close, just 5 brief mindsets as I thought about preparing for being here tonight with you. And this is about gender equity and equality champions, men and women. What's it take? First, again, as I said earlier, self-interest. If you don't know what your self-interest is, how do you stay in this work long term? Secondly, listening. And I'm talking about listening deeply to understand, not to agree, but to really understand, particularly when you don't agree. It's easy to understand when you do agree. Third, patience. Now we're into the 3 Ps. Patience is an interesting one in a corporate environment because you are rewarded oftentimes to do exact opposite of that. Move fast, move quick, get it done yesterday. Deliver results. And I'm not saying anything wrong with delivering results and moving fast. Having patience with this work is incredibly important. And it comes with the paradox of urgency and patience together. We're moving those simultaneously. Fourth, persistence. That's become a big word in my country because of one of our women senators, Elizabeth Warren, about persisting and all of that, knowing what you stand for and also having a ready-made support system that you can lean on. And I think for men, that's even more important because many of us have been bought the myth that we don't need any help or we can do it ourselves or we're supposed to do it ourselves. And lastly, presence. And this came to me from a young 25-year-old Indian woman, an engineer at Rockwell Automation, at a leadership development program, Rockwell Automation, I've worked with for the last 10 years. And last week, they were awarded in New York the Catalyst Award for that work of 10 years. And her notion, she said, the most important thing I can do is to be present in every waking moment of my life. And I've carried that with me about how do I show up? How often is my head somewhere out there in the future or back there in the past? And what does that do when I'm not present with the people in my life, personally and professionally? So again, to close, do not be daunted by the enormity of the world's grief. Do justly now. Love mercy now. Walk humbly now. You're not obligated to complete the work, nor are you free to abandon it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, okay. Thank you so much, Bill. I told you it was so inspiring. Now I'm pleased to welcome, we have some, you can bring the chairs and come more, and it becomes the first row. The jury now is at the second row. Our nominees too. So I'm also very honored to welcome today our second guest speaker. I know her since the beginning, almost the beginning of Jump, and she's always. How can I say? I want to become her. I want to deliver the same message as she does in the same manner, because she knows much more than I do, and she communicates it in a much better way than I do. When I knew her, she was the CEO Europe of Catalyst. You know Catalyst? This international research organization specifically dedicated for gender equality at work. And now she has created her own think tank that is called the Paradigm Forum. And she does, like Bill, she works with a lot of organizations, corporate and others, in order not only to make them aware of what they should do and of what is happening, but especially on delivering results. And this is so much important to avoid that gender fatigue. So she's a really well-renowned speaker and a leader in the media. So you'll see, I don't know if you will have the same experience as I always have with her. I must admit that I don't always understand 100% of what she says. I know she's right. I know she shows me the way, but I'm not there yet. And I know that I need some practice more in order to really embody a message. Please welcome my friend, Eleanor Tabi Aller-Jordan.
to start dancing with that music. I have to say, I love that word, hey. I mean, I feel like saying, yes, hey. Yes, I run a think tank. So we are in the business, I often think of innovation in the future, but actually hope. So I'd love to build on some of Bill's comments in terms of what can give us hope and where does hope lie at this point. And one of my favorite quotations about the future is a man named Gibson who said, "The future is already here, it's just unevenly distributed." And I'd like on that note to share with you two stories that I think really capture the challenge that we're facing right now, because it's almost as if we're operating in two parallel universes. So if you can imagine, last November, I had dinner with the CEO of a consumer products company. And the reason why I was meeting with him is that I had a woman in mind for his board who was profoundly innovative, who I felt could add real value to his board. So the good news is the lunch, he was very attentive. We had this fantastic carbonara and, et cetera. And I thought, oh, this is going very well. He's listening, et cetera. And then the tiramisu arrived. And we each took a spoonful of the tiramisu, and he said, "Oh, Tabby, I wish you had spoken to me 6 months ago because I already have a woman on my board." At which point I ate a lot of tiramisu, and I had 2 coffees. So imagine that conversation, and then fast forward to a month ago, when I was invited, because we do quite a bit of work in the area of robotics and artificial intelligence. So I was invited to participate in a symposium, and I entered the building, and there was the reception desk with a robot. "Hello, Tabby, here's your registration packet." I said, "Oh, my word, okay." And I walked into the room, and there, half of the attendees were robots. So walking around and greeting, and they had little pockets with their business cards. And I must say I was quite taken aback because I had never spoken to a robot before. So this was new terrain for me, notwithstanding having done quite a bit of research and just looking at the implications of artificial intelligence and robotics on the future of work, the future of the workplace. So long story short, I gave a presentation. There was Q&A. Several of the robots lifted their hands. I, of course, again, I felt very humbled, and I thought, oh, I hope I'm being a good human being. Because again, it was a little bit nerve-wracking. Anyway, and then the coffee hour arrived, and I said, okay, so, and the 2 robots next to me said, "Tabby, are you going to go for coffee?" And I said, yes. And then one of them said, "As you can well imagine, we are significantly challenged by liquid refreshments." Anyway, long story short, the last segment of the program, I was on a panel, and the moderator was a robot, and the other 2 panelists were robots. So speaking of being an outsider, I was the only human being on the stage. And I thought, this is profoundly compelling. What does this mean? What kind of future are we participating in? And at that point, we broke into teams. So each team consisted of half robots, half humans. And we were given a project, and it was competitive. And I can tell you, in the context of that environment, I was suddenly absolutely inspired and enlightened by the possibility of appreciating the added value of different perspectives, different experiences, different thought patterns. So here, when we're swimming in the sea of diversity, where we truly recognize that physically apparent demographic representation is not ultimately what we're about. We're about ensuring that our corporate cultures invite and excite the kind of perspectives, experiences, and thought patterns that will allow a robust and engaging conversation. So in other words, demographic representation is not necessarily proxy for the very diversity of thinking and thought that we need. So I saw a bit of the future there that day, and I thought, what are the implications? The implications are profound. For one, the capacity around collaborative intelligence and collaborative technology is significant. And, one of the moments this morning over my scrambled eggs, I opened the international newspaper, International New York Times. There are 2 articles. Front page article on robots now being used in museums to ensure 24-hour access so that people that are physically challenged can actually have a robot take them on a virtual tour. Page 3, law firms. We just placed 2 robots in law firms so that they can do a lot of the research that can free up the associates to do more of the other work in terms of the critical and creative thinking that's necessary. It also suggests that the binary may no longer be the relevant category. As I said, is it male and female, or there are now 9 categories of gender identity that have been officially acknowledged, 4 categories of sex identity. So in terms of how we self-identify and how we place ourselves into a configuration where there's both human and robotic intelligence is a fascinating question. And I do think it invites and excites us to consider, well, what kinds of working cultures will we have? I was sharing this with a client and he said, oh, Tabby, one of the things that we're doing with robots now is for people that are working at home, we want them to feel engaged in the workplace. So we have little screens and they're on these little sedgeways that make their way around the office and they feel so much more engaged. So again, the possibilities here I think are profoundly exciting, but how do we make this work? And one of the things that we've started to do, we're now working in 30 schools across Europe with 8 to 10-year-olds on workplace innovation. And what's so fantastic, to Bill's point about children, is that they are so full of curiosity and possibility. And what we've done is made little hats that have said, I am an innovator. So we've gone into the classroom and we asked them, what do you think an innovator does? And they said, it comes up with interesting questions, interesting perspectives. And I said, are you an innovator? Of course, all of them raised their hand. So what we've done is, and it was quite interesting, is just a little experiment. We drew just a simple picture of a triangle and a wave. So we said, no, don't put your innovator hat on now. Just look at it as you normally look at. So what is that? Little boy said, well, Tabby, it looks like a mountain. And the little girl said, no, I think it's a hill. And then what's at the bottom? Maybe water. Maybe it's a mountain close to a hill. I said, terrific, okay. Now, what's an innovator? Somebody who looks at things differently, someone that looks at things creatively. And I said, okay, put on your innovator hats. So now you are all innovators. What do you see? And this little girl immediately raised her hand. She said, oh, I think it's a witch drowning. Remarkable. So I think that to me is cause for a lot of optimism, because I think if we can bring children into that sense of possibility of the future, because what was so fascinating is, and the teacher's feedback was, oh my word, we don't see, the girls aren't quiet because they feel that they're innovators. So they're carrying around their little hats and the boys and the girls are wearing this, and then the history teacher, the science teacher, the French teacher is saying, now put on your innovator hat. What else do you see? So that invitation for creativity and that sense of creating a workplace that can in fact include all of these various differences, I think is profoundly powerful. So the lesson is the future is in fact here. We will, I predict within the next 2 to 3 years, be working and collaborating with robots. We will be considering the possibility of a future that I think could bring us to a place that will be very exciting. But we have to bring it into the school systems. We have to allow children that sense of possibility and optimism. So on that note, I just wanted to let you know that I think the future is a very bright place. I do think that there are lots of unanswered questions in terms of the implications, but what was so profoundly interesting to me is that these robots were actually programmed with a lot of social intelligence. And there was a certain kindness and gratitude in how they addressed the adults. It was actually quite profound. So I think, I found myself thinking, oh my word, I hope I didn't come across as being robotic. You do find yourself sort of gravitating with sort of interesting questions of, wow, where is my identity in this scheme? So I do want to leave you in the spirit of optimism. And Isabel, you will be sensitive to some. I'm always taking the JUMP acronym and saying, okay, what else could it stand for? So I've come up with a new one. So I think JUMP is just understand the magnificent potential of the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tabby. Just understand the magnificence of the future. My goodness, it's really well done, because following the speech of Bill, that really teach us how to behave in this difficult period, full of anxiety, and you see it in a very optimistic way. So at least if this evening can be useful only for that, in order to give us hope, it would be really great. So before asking the three nominees to stand up and to come, if we could put the chair, I need the 5 chairs, please. Yeah, we will be really with you, huh? Very, very close. But before asking them to stand up and to come in front of you, in order to have a small chat, I would like to introduce them very briefly. So Alexander von Mayo is the CEO of Nelse Belgilux. Where is it? Voilà, Alexander. I don't see you. So you're from German origin. You've worked in Nestlé. You had really an international career within Nestlé, because you work in Turkey, Indonesia, France, before coming to Belgium. You have a very strong core value, which is respect. And respect includes also respect diversity. You are a supporter of women everywhere you're a manager. You did a fantastic job in France, and when you came in Belgium, you did exactly the same, achieving really great results. You are a father of 3 sons, very soon a 4th one. So I'm really upset with you, because you're contradicting exactly the results of my findings. You know, the JUMP survey. Do men want equality at work? What we found out is that it's more fathers of daughters that are allies to women. You're exactly the contrary. So thank you for that. Sabine Sagart, you're the President, Global Managing Director, Malt at Cargill. So you were born and raised in Belgium. And before joining Cargill, you had a very long career in the brewing industry. So always a very male-dominated industry, working environment, I would say. You have another motto. Your motto is lead by example. And so you're a very strong role model for women, of course, but not only. In Cargill, you've achieved incredible results, because you have a full parity leadership team. In such an environment, it's a very big achievement. And you're very brave, very courageous. You're not afraid to call out leaders who are not walking their talk. And she speaks also all the time for the ones that have watched her video for the award. She speaks all the time of pushing and pulling for diversity. We will hear you on that immediately. The third nominee is Gregor Chapelle. So Gregor, you were also born and raised in Belgium. You have an education. No, it's not true. I didn't know that. I know you from 20 years. I didn't know you that. You didn't give me the bio. This is why. And so I got to know you when you were a lawyer. So a lawyer, especially in civil rights and also protecting migrants. Then you entered in McKinsey, and but you are in your heart, and you're a real politician, and this is how I got to know you. And you're a politician from the Socialist Party. You were deputy mayor of the Commune de Forêt in Brussels, so you're a fan of Brussels, like Bianca and Cécile. So now, since 6 years, you're the managing director of Actiris. For the one who do not know, maybe, it's the public service for employment in Brussels. You achieve really great results, not only on gender equality, but especially in decreasing the number of unemployed people. So really fantastic. And he has he has many characteristics. The first one is that he always wears something red. Either it's a red scarf, you don't have a scarf today, but you have the socks. So you will show them to us. And the other characteristic is that you are calling yourself a feminist, and you are proud of that. So thank you, the 3 nominees. Please stand up and come here. Désolée, on va vous tourner le dos.
So welcome, and I hope you are comfortably seated. So the objective is not to put you on the grill at all, but to use some questions just to make sure that you can elaborate of some initiatives that you have presented as well during the session with the jury, because I think personally there are lots of things that can be source of inspiration for myself and for lots of people here in the room. So I will start with a first question, maybe Sabine, if you don't mind, because you know that gender equality, it doesn't mean to me abandon of some gallantry. So if you had to choose amongst the different actions that you wanted to bring to your company, which one action do you believe is the most powerful one to make sure that you achieve a better gender balance?
Well, for me, it is really leading by example. I have done that when I started in my role 2 years ago. You called it out, actually. When I started my new role, one of the things I absolutely wanted is a diversity of thought. So it's broader than gender diversity. It's also age, for example. I have a millennial in my team, for example. Beliefs, religion, background, personalities, etc. But gender is absolutely one of the criteria. So I led by example, and I built a team that is 50% ladies and 50% men. I believe that is very impactful because you lead by example, you show you're very serious about that. And that means that you expect, and you have to talk about it, of course, as well, but you expect that your organization follows the model and you express your belief by just doing it. Our CEO at Cargill has done the same. Not 50-50, but for the first time in Cargill's history, actually, our CEO has built an executive team with 3 women on the executive team. Before that, there has never been women on the executive team. He is also very much participating in conversations, and he leads by example in everything he's doing. So everyone knows that our CEO is very serious about that, and that's how it starts. I believe if the top is not leading by example, you will never be able to really change the needle or move the needle, I would say.
So really walking the talk.
Walk the talk.
Okay. Yes, Alexander, the same question.
A different answer, but I fully believe walk the talk is absolutely crucial. I would cite my HR director, Odile. She always says it's the magic 3. And what does it mean, the magic 3? We made the experience, if you put 1 woman or 1 man, it depends on the diversity. If you put 1 woman on a leadership team, nothing changes. 2, still very difficult. But from the moment where you have minimum 3 women on the team, you really change the dynamics in the team, you change the atmosphere in the team, you change the behavior in the team. So my key learning, and that's also the biggest advice what I give, don't start with 1. Start minimum with 3, because that's the way how you change and how you accelerate.
And Gregor, if you have to pick up one big action you feel the most powerful?
I'm afraid I will be a bit undisciplined, and I would first like to do 2 comments. The first comment, I would like to share with you my feelings right now. And I would like to tell you that I feel a lot of joy to be here with you tonight. I would like to thank Isabella for making this event possible, because I feel a lot of very positive energy. I think we need that in this world. We are going through difficult times, and I'm really feeling a lot of gratitude to be here. Then a second comment is a comment about the title of our panel. If I'm not confused, the title of our panel was how does CEO get in the minds and hearts of their employees or the employees of their organization with regards to gender
and also other
inequality.
Leaders. And
also,
other leaders.
But my point was, Isabella, I have no intention to get in the hearts and minds of our employees. I have the intention, I think our real challenge, the challenge of the three of us, is to have some person, some women, our employees getting in our hearts and our minds. And if I may give two examples, which are at the core of what we do in Actiris. I would like first to speak to you about Sabine. Sabine works in Actiris. She's a job coach. She's black. Of course, she's a woman, and she's the mother of Anna, 5 years old, and so she's the mother of a monoparental family. Sabine earns 1,600 euros a month. She lives in Brussels. Housing is very expensive, and so she spends 700 euros a month for her apartment, which leaves her with 30 euro a day to pay for the entire needs of her family. And what does she do as a living? She accompanies job seekers. And one of her clients is Khadija. And Khadija has 1,000 euro a month. And she's also the mother of a monoparental family. She's the mother of Asma. Asma is 1 year old. And there are, as Bianca said, there are no place for childcare for Anna, because private childcare is 600 euro a month, and you may understand that with 1,000 euro as a living, 550 going into the housing, that leaves 15 euro a day. And so I wanted to speak about Sabine, about Anna, about Khadija, about Asma, because I think that is our collective endeavor, is to have them in our hearts and minds. How is it possible that collectively we let so huge inequalities happen? In this case, inequalities based on gender, based on the origin, and of course based on inequality. So that was my main point. Actiris, the entire organization, is about trying to find solutions for people that are victims of inequality and discrimination.
Yeah, thank you, Gregor. Alexander, diversity and making sure that women feel at home, I would say, on the workplace, it's a question of inclusiveness. And how do you measure inclusiveness in your organization?
Yeah, the first thing I would like to come back to what Isabella said before. You said you're not happy with me because I'm not the typical stereotype. I can assure you my wife is also not happy with me because she definitely wanted to have a girl. So, you know, so therefore already several unhappy people. Yeah. No, but how do we ensure inclusivity and diversity? First of all, we simply measure it, yeah, because if you don't measure it, you cannot know. And secondly, we ensure that I would quote you, walk the talk. For example, if you look at succession planning, it is mandatory to have always minimum a man and a woman and a man, because we have to look at both sides, not only at one gender. And the other thing for us is diversity is not only genders, it's also age. If you look at our age pyramid, we have young people, but we also have the aging population, because it is crucial that you don't lose people when they are 45 or 48. We keep them until they retire. We also look at other areas of diversity, which is a bit more difficult, because age is easy to measure. In this country, you can communicate about it. In UK, for example, you're not even allowed to show the age of a person. Here we can. If you talk about ethical background, it becomes more difficult. But there, what we do, we walk around, we look around, and we try to have let's say, a proper diversity. It's more difficult to define what is the target. In gender, it's easy. We say we want to be balanced. Balance can be between 40-60 and 60-40. In the other areas, it's more difficult. But what we do, we talk about it, we observe it, and then we act to change it if you're not happy.
Okay, Gregor, do you have also such a list of not KBIs but KDIs, key diversity indicators in your environment, work environment?
Indeed, we do. So diversity is at the DNA of Actiris. As a public employment service, Sabine was speaking about role model. We, of course, have to be a role model for our clients. We work for the 34,000 employers of Brussels, and so we have to show them that it is possible to have a fully diverse team. So our 1,400 solution providers, as we call them, is by definition diverse, and we measure it. So we have 2/3 of our team that are women. We measure, of course, age. We measure also handicap, and we try also to help to shatter the glass ceiling. The majority of the top management of Actiris is women. In our direction committee, we have three quarters of women. We are 12, 9 women, 3 men, and I must say that they are not small jobs. They are heavy responsibility jobs. The director of finance is a woman. She manages a budget of 700 million a year. The director of our job seekers direction leads a team of 500 collaborators. So of course we measure it, but I must say that we are quite comfortable with regards to gender equality, as we have no glass ceilings, and it helps also to recruit, because of course in the selections committees we have always, and I should say nearly always, a majority of women.
Okay, Sabine, at Cargill, how do you measure that? Inclusiveness and diversity?
So the first thing I think to be assured that there is an inclusive environment is creating that culture. Creating that culture is a damned difficult thing, and it asks a lot of effort. So, but when the whole of the company is talking about it and really make sure that it is a very strong and very important topic, the assurance increases that it will be taken into account. But you cannot be everywhere, of course, and you don't know what really happens everywhere in all your environments, in a plant environment, with subordinates and leaders, etc. So there's 2 measures that we have. The first one is a real KPI that measures the evolution of female leaders above a certain level in the organization. So that is one. And the other one, we do every year a survey where inclusive environment is really a topic of the survey, where we try to reach as much employees as we can to hear their voice if they are operating in an inclusive environment. It is anonymous, so they have the opportunity in that service as well, if there might be a problem, for example, which might occur, to voice the problem. So that's the way we do it.
Okay, Gregor, the diversity agenda ambition is not something for one person, for the boss, the CEO of a company. It's also the work or the accountability for all managers, department head. How do you make sure that those managers are accountable in your organization?
So we train the managers, but I should first say, as Sabine said, we try to implement a culture of zero tolerance with regards to sexism. So any new employee of Actiris, I meet personally in a monthly meeting with any newcomers in Actiris. And as Alexander says that respect is one of its core values, it is one of our 3 values in Actiris. And the very important message that I give to anybody that gets in Actiris is that with regard to sexism, but not only sexism, homophobia, racism, anti-Semitism, all discriminating attitudes such as these are on the same footage, and will have immediate dismissal as a consequence. So we've got it in the past. We've got, of course, in a team of 1,400, we got some racist behaviors, some sexist behaviors, and it gave as a consequence an immediate dismissal. Then we try to train our managers. We have a cooperation with UNIA, le Centre pour l'égalité des chances, also with the Institute for Equality between Men and Women, to train our managers. A big group of our managers went through the eDiv, e-diversity training by UNIA. We put on our intranet the eDiv tool, and we did the same with regards to neutral gender communication. We all know that grammar is sexist, at least in French, grammar is sexist. And so we try, certainly in French, to feminize all functions. So we have nearly no more directeur in our direction committee, but mostly directrice. When we speak to the teams, we say bonjour à toutes and bonjour à tous. We try always to help with that culture of considering just normal that anybody can get any responsibility.
Alexander, how do you make sure that your managers and leaders feel accountable for that?
The first thing is probably exactly the same as at Activis, as our core value is rooted in respect. And respect means respecting different genders, respecting diversity, and who is not complying to this has no place at our company. So that's the first thing, and everyone knows this. The second is we make the managers accountable to develop the team. That means they're accountable to put in all the succession plans a woman and a man. And if this is not, and we track this, we follow this up, and if we don't see this happening, then we address it. And if it does still not happening, then we have to take action.
Do you take the same? Thank you, Alexander. Do you take the same framework to embark the whole organization into the gender diversity agenda?
Well, what I do, and I have a nice example actually, and it works, is I will push the managers if I feel that there is an environment or a location that is not diverse enough, and there is still too many, to be honest. When there is a recruitment, for example, to really push that man or woman, but most of the time man, to recruit a woman. And I have a nice example in a plant environment where it was only men. I pushed one of my managers and I said, we had a vacancy. I want to have a woman in that plant. He said, well, it's difficult and it's so rough, and with those blue collars, it doesn't work. I said, I hear you. I want to prove the concept. You will hire a lady in that plant. But and I have a list of candidates now, and it doesn't work. It's all men that apply, not a woman. I said, well, maybe, but you will find one. And then he did indeed the efforts. And I see Sarah has to laugh because you know him. And he hired a woman in that plant. Now we are years later, and there is another vacancy again. So that woman has promoted. And meanwhile, and I speak about like 3 years, that happened 3 years ago. He hired 3 women in the plant. He's the most convinced ambassador of having women in a plant. But that is what I call really inspiring them, because I don't believe, the forcing was the first time, but once they are convinced, they walk the talk, and then it's much more powerful, I would say.
Yes, interesting example, inspiring example. Alexander, when we talk about in the media about gender diversity and differences between men and women, we all the time mention difference in how we pay people. How do you make sure that we have equal pay within your organization between men and women?
And we make sure, because first of all, we don't look at the gender when we look at the salary. So what we have for every position, we benchmark against the market, because at the final end, the competition is outside the market, not inside. And then if we promote someone newly to a position, we say, okay, what we want to pay is minimum 80% of the external benchmark for a newcomer to this position, independently if it's a man or a woman. Yeah. And then the development is the same, it's based on performance. And we did a recent study, because obviously to be prepared, come here, if the question would come, I wanted to be able to say, yes, we have no pay gap, and actually we have no pay gap. Yeah? But it can vary, because obviously if you have a lot of newly promoted women, there is a pay gap if there were men which were longer in the position, and vice versa. If you have newly promoted men and women being longer on the same level, you have a pay gap. But everyone starts with the same level, everyone is benchmarked against the outside world, and to make it very transparent, we communicate to everyone where does he stand, she or he, against this outside world comparison. Okay. So therefore, it is very transparent, and everyone can immediately check, ask the colleagues or whatever, what is your compare ratio, and then therefore we have to ensure there's no pay gap.
Do you have the same transparency at Activis?
We have the same transparency as we are paid by the taxpayer. And so paid by the taxpayer, we have public rules, which makes that the salaries are just equal. So as a manager, it's much more easy. So congratulations, Alexander, because for our team and our human resource, it's much easier. But so it's public rules. We are paid on basis of the degree and the ancienniety. And so by fact, thanks to decisions made by our democratically elected representatives, salaries between men and women are equal in our public service.
And Sabine, how do you manage potential pay gaps within Cargill?
So I agree, there is more than only gender in the pay. So there is performance, etc., like what you mentioned. At Cargill, before we have a salary increase discussion, which is happening with management teams. There is a training that is before, everyone gets a training before that event happens, let's say. That is one thing. The other thing is HR is really the watchdog, and they are very convinced about it. So from that perspective, I feel very comfortable. And if there would be a gap, I haven't seen it in my own organization, but that might occur in the salary increases. HR would certainly intervene, I'm sure.
Okay. Maybe a last question, but a more personal one. And we'll start with you, Gregor. So, what lessons you have learned along the way on this journey, and what are your advices to other corporate leaders?
So, my advice would definitely be, and certainly to men, to call yourself feminist. I think that the cause for gender equality needs more men that dare to do so, and that dare to show that they are allied to all men and women that fight for gender equality. That can be translated into a real, practical, concrete changes of behaviors. And the first one, I did that in January 2016. I took the pledge, and the pledge is that I swore that I would never more be member of a public panel without the two genders represented, without counting the person that gives the word. So it must be a real contributor to the intellectual reflection, or the reflection with the heart. So I took that pledge. It's not easy to respect it. It's also easier for me, as if there are no men in the panel, I can always propose a member of my direction committee to replace me, as we have plenty of choice of women top managers that can represent Activis. My second advice would be about man-interrupting and mansplaining. I discovered the two concepts a few months ago. Man-interrupting being a man that interrupts a woman during a meeting. And as you may have noticed, I'm quite extrovert, and so it happens quite a lot. And so I took notice, as I discovered that concept, I took notice that even though we're only 3 men in our direction committee, that was happening, and the men were man-interrupting women quite often, but also that women interrupt more often women than they dare to interrupt men. And then mansplaining being when a man believes that he knows better than a woman and starts to explain to her how the world is run. And in fact, you just discover after a few seconds that the woman knows a lot more than you do. I had a sort of a gigantic paradox a few days ago, as I explained to one of the directrices of my direction committee. I explained her what mansplaining was. And so I was in sort of in a strange situation, but that would be really my advice. Please dare to call yourself a feminist, and I'm proud to call myself a feminist.
Thank you. Sabine, maybe I can make the statement that when you started to work for Cargill, diversity was not a given. Probably you have gone through difficult times. You have learned a lot of things. What would be the biggest lessons you can give and the advice for the audience?
Yeah. So my biggest lesson is that it is damned hard work and it asks a lot of effort. Which was for me more a given, looks like it is really hard to do. The first one is the man. It's very, very difficult to do, and I love it what you say, that the man become feminist. It's really something that I can use, because that is really for me the very difficult part is make the men ambassadors, but true ambassadors, and there is unconscious and conscious bias to overcome, and there is a lot, and I think Bill summed some of the root causes there. But that is for me a very big one. So push the man is one of the advices. And then the other one, what I was less realizing as well, is the woman actually not being convinced about themselves, trying to have 90% of the role clear, and etc. It's everything of that. And I recognize things of that in myself as well. But really push the woman or pull them actually into bigger positions, etc. would be my advice. But inspire them and really make sure that they believe in themselves and that they can make it, and that it's okay to ask your husband to do part of the work, and it's okay towards your children that you don't have to feel guilty. The children are fine, and that's a lot of effort, I would say. To come through to get to a good result overall. So my motto is really push the man and pull the woman for the better. And I would say that is my advice to everyone in the room here.
Okay, thank you. Alexander, so you have had the opportunity to work in different countries in your career up to now. So from the multiple experience, from multiple countries experience, what would you say about the major learnings you have had?
I would say, first of all, it's really worth it, because I've worked in balanced teams and I've worked in unbalanced teams. I've worked in teams which were driven by a lot of machismo, or I don't know how to say this, machismo. Okay. And we just have finished a 2-day visit of our big boss from the head office in Switzerland, and he was impressed from the atmosphere in our senior management team, because we are a fully balanced team. Today I announced a new nomination of a woman to the management team, which will bring the women in the majority quote. So, this was not a target, but simply she was the best candidate. But what our boss could see, the atmosphere was so different to all the other teams he's visiting in Western Europe. We have a nicer atmosphere. And therefore it's also, it's not only the business results which are better, but it's also the atmosphere, the working conditions which are nicer. So therefore, that's the best learning for me. You have to do it, it's worth it. And the advice is, I will close the loop to what I said at the beginning. If you're not yet there, start with the magic suite.
Thank you very much.
So,
Before concluding, I would like to address you a personal message because during the session with the jury, and I think that all the jury members will agree with me, we were very impressed by your personal commitment, your personal engagement in bringing this cause further. So on behalf of the entire audience, thank you very much for what you have done so far.
Yes, it might sound a bit banal, but two will not be the laureate, but the three of you have already won. Because by doing the campaign, but being first awarded because you are among the three nominees, and doing your personal campaign, that means coming really forward with your values and with your commitment. I'm pretty sure that it will give you more strength in gender equality battle, I would say. And for sure, it will raise also your profile as a very good ally to other women in the company, and men, of course. So thank you so much. Please take back your seat, just only for a few minutes. I want to thank my partner in crime, Etienne, for animating the panel. And now, so we are almost there. But before being there, I would like to celebrate once more the laureates that we had in the former years. So if you can show, Gary, the slide of the 6 former winners. We have 2, Albert Ragon and Janneke van der Kamp, that moved to the headquarters of their company. They are not anymore established in Belgium. But I would like to ask Christelle, Tom, Michel, and Erwin to join me here. Could you come? I don't see Tom. Tom is not there. Okay. So Erwin.
Isabella.
I suppose you're sad that you have to hand over your award.
I want to walk.
Yeah.
No, in fact, I'm very proud because every year you add one more combatant to the team. I think every year a new award winner, and every year 2 new runner-ups. It just broadens the wave that you started with this event. So great! No, I'm very proud to hand it over.
And what were the main, I would say, the main results of this year of being an ambassador, but also the biggest resistance that you had to face?
The main results. I think if I look at about a year ago, I was blessed with innocence, so I wasn't aware of what was coming, which is a great thing. And then you run into this roller coaster, and you start to get into a vibe and a wave of meeting great people, meeting people who are really engaged and know much more about the topic than I did, and than I do. And you realize there's so much that still needs to be done. And it's very difficult to grasp why it isn't moving any faster. Because if you meet all those people, and then you start to realize that the people in power really are still male in majority. And it's really about convincing them and getting them on the table. And one of the things, my biggest frustration over the year was to go to conferences like this, and tonight is pretty okay. I'm pleased with the amount of men in the room. But go to conferences like these, hold lectures, go and meet other people, and it's the convinced preaching to the convinced. So you're talking to 95% of women in the room. So my mission this year is trying to reach to those company decision makers who don't come, and make them start to listen. Because in many cases, it's not that they don't want to. They have a busy schedule, and they think there are many other things that are have much more priority. So my mission is really to show them, a bit like what Alexandra and the other candidates said, is about there is an impact, there is a positive result for the business. If you look at the result at your bottom line, and you look at the result and the atmosphere, and I really like the remarks you got from your European president, because I feel the same in my company, is when people visit Avalon in Belgium, they always say there is a different atmosphere. You just feel the energy because it's a balanced team and you have better decisions out of it.
Christelle, you left IBM. How will you be still committed to gender equality?
It's part of who I am, so I don't think it has anything to do with where I will be working. I've been working on it for 16, 17 years, and I will continue on that path. I think there's nothing better than helping other women, for the good cause, and really mentoring them and helping them to overcome any barriers that they might have. But what I also will continue doing is share my experience and expertise with other companies, and I think that is one of the things that, out of the award, I think is the most valuable thing that you can give back as a winner, is really to work with other companies and share the experience and put them on the right track and get them going, so that you get more companies really being convinced of the cause.
So you will join the Jump Academy and be a trainer for Jump then?
Yeah,
great. Thank you, Christelle. Michel, so many things happened to you from the moment you became a winner. You showed so much emotion when you got the award. It was I remember it. It was a really great moment because you were sharing, like we said earlier with Etienne, you were sharing all your heart. So, what is happening to your heart now?
It's a bit strange because I'm feeling almost the same I felt 2 years ago.
Cry,
No, I will not cry today. So my message would be...
can, of course.
No, from the past. So the experience I have when I've been here 2 years ago was that I was realizing suddenly everything we did, but I did too with the past. And I say, well, where I am now, that's really amazing. That's really great. And today, the message I would like to give to you, because I know how you could feel, or some so I will not make a long message now, because it's time to have the results, is a message, a positive one for future. And I would like to encourage each of us, but each of you too, to lead the future, because the future is in the hand of the children, and this is what we heard just before. So that's the future. So let's be positive for future. Let's embrace the new challenge. Let's go for transformation, and all together, let's make it happen. So a lot of success for each of you, and congratulations for being here today.
So before calling the members of the jury, here maybe if you can take out the chairs, because otherwise we won't have enough space. Not that there are hundreds of members of the jury, but anyway, there are some. Members of the jury? There are a lot, yes. But good ones, huh? I will introduce them to you in a while, but I want first to invite here on the podium some former nominees that we have the pleasure to have. I think Marc de Kort is up there. Try to come here. And we have Annick Boschart too. Do we have Ron Hembrecht? He told me that he... Where is he? Where is he? Where is Ron Hembrecht? He left. Bon, voilà, he left. So, Annick and Mark, even if Mark is changing career, so that it makes a lot of moving the career to get the award to be a nominee. But I hope Annick and maybe also Mark that you will race again and try to get the award next time. So let me introduce you to the members of the jury. If they could stand up and come here behind the desk in order to have a beautiful picture on all the people that really helped us in having this award, all the people who worked a lot in analyzing the dossier and giving us really good feedbacks, good information in order to make this award better and better. So let me ask could you join us, Dorothée, Dorothy, Françoise, Martha. Woo! Yeah, I know you're a bit behind. You should have been on the first row, but maybe, yeah, exactly. Voilà. Martha, Monique, Karel, Kathleen, Jean-Michel, Sana, that is representing Dirk de Viter, Angie, Carla, Cécile, Sarah, Elke, Charles, Anne, and Jean-Paul. Voilà, you see, can I ask you to come here maybe in half a circle? And on vous voit pas là, hein? So okay, but you can, okay. Come here in the front then. Wow, this is a big family, isn't it? Come here in front. Yeah. Carla, Jean-Michel, we don't see you. We have seen you during the whole day, that's right, but okay, so do we have the envelope with the winner? You have it, Etienne. So I'm giving the word to you and to Erwin. If you can come forward.
Maybe we can invite.
We can invite the three nominees to stand here. Yes. So just before reading the envelope, we have the jingle for the last time of the day. The very last time of the day. Do you know this is the jump song from Madonna?
Yes, it was the very last time.
It was very tight, huh? It is tight as I am. So voilà.
So
I don't know what happened, but okay. So voilà.
What I hope is that we are not repeating the Oscar ceremony today. I fully trust you, Cécile. So we thought that Erwin, it was a nice privilege to give to you. To read the name, to unveil the name of the winner.
Just to avoid any mistake, you know.
Yes.
I still remember last year, I had sweaty palms when this was happening. So the 2017 Corporate Ambassador for Gender Equality, ladies and gentlemen, is Sabine Sagar.
So, here is the award. Voila, a wonderful picture. A wonderful picture. So I don't know where you should have a mic. Where did you put the portrait that we gave you last year, Will? I didn't see it in the office.
No, you know what? I don't like to brag about my. I like to do the action in the field.
You have it in your bedroom. This is why.
No, I think it is a nice recognition. But I think it's you should find a place where you think it deserves. But for me, it's in the terrain that you make the difference. So.
Now, we had the CEO of Novartis that had a portrait, the portrait of the winning the award, really next to the welcome desk of the office, and I thought it was a very good idea. First, because she was a female CEO, which is it's quite rare, and secondly, because it immediately says here are the values of the companies. For the company, so I thought it was a good idea. Sabine, maybe you can. So a few words from you.
Yeah. Well, wow, I'm impressed. I thought the other two candidate nominees were very strong.
They were strong.
So I'm happy for that because we are 3 now to be real ambassadors. So I think the competition was tough. I'm super happy that I won, and I would like to start thanking a lot of people, starting with Jump and the passion you put into this topic, which is really the right thing to do. And I appreciate that you guys are organizing these events, these awards, but you do much more than that, of course. To really make the difference in society and companies, but broader than that. So I would like to thank you for that. I would like to thank that enormous jury here behind me. I was impressed when I had to plead that there were so many people. So thank you for your commitment to gender equality and diversity and inclusion. The fact that you are in the jury proves that you want to change things. And thanks for supporting me in that. I would like to thank especially, and I don't know where she is, but I would like to show her, is my Marine Santos, who is my HR director, millennial.
Stand up, Marine, stand up.
Woman. Who first of all really convinced me that I should participate because she said you are a role model. You should do more with this and participate, and you will do that. So she really inspired me to participate. So, and in addition, she did so much preparation work, connecting with Jump and etc. So, Maureen, you were my inspiration as well. So, big thank you for that. I would like. There's a long list. I would like to thank my team. My team is part of my team is here. Part of them are traveling because we all have global roles to support me in this to be very inclusive. And I only have one man present here of my team. But yeah, you should stand up, Ahmed. So the men, as we have 50-50, the men have to be inclusive, and thanks to be inclusive, and also the other men that are not present here are very inclusive. So I am lucky with having that kind of support in my team. I would like to thank the voters overall, those that are present here, but also those that are not present. Having voted on me and having used and abused the video actually for the good purpose. And last but not least, and I don't know if he is here, but I would like to thank my husband.
Yeah.
Now it gets emotional for me. I don't know if he's making a career as well. So I don't know if he made it.
Is he here? Is your husband here? Not, but he's in your heart.
Yeah. Because he is the biggest support you can imagine. He never asked me if I would like to do a career or whatever, he helped always. It has never been a topic at home. And he has been raised, of course, with a mother who worked as well, me too, so we come from these kind of backgrounds. I realize many people don't, but he felt it just more than normal. He did never put me guilty or whatever in terms of every support. He will be here tonight, so normally he should arrive. And tell him that I said this. Yeah. And then maybe last but not least, please to the audience here present, everyone here on stage is really convinced. The fact that you are here, I think you are somewhere in one or another way also convinced. So try to inspire as much people as you can for gender equality and diversity and inclusion. Thank you.